Hello everybody, Demon Jester J here with 5+ questions to a mile maker. And my guest is...
Andrew from SchnauzerFaceMinis. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for being on the show. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good too.
Excellent.
Thanks a lot. Ready for the questions?
I sure am, yes.
First question. Who are you? Please tell us about yourself and your hobby, and also, do you have more than one hobby?
Okay, my name's Andrew. My YouTube channel is SchnauzerFaceMinis, and I am in this hobby primarily just a painter. I don't play very often. I play War Machine every once in a while,
Cool.
but don't do any Warhammer or anything like that. As far as the gaming goes, but I like painting and a little bit of modeling. I'm not a big fan of the green stuff and the conversions. I'm not very patient with that kind of stuff, so mainly just the painting. And what do? I'm a teacher outside of painting, and other hobbies. I also this is probably my main hobby. The painting is what I spend my most my energies on. I also my wife and I are into the saltwater tank. We have a coral tank, a reef tank. That's a lot of time and energy goes into that too. That's a fun hobby we both enjoy, and reading that kind of stuff.
All right. Ready for a second question?
I sure am, yes.
Number 2. What got you into your hobby, and how long have you been into it?
What got me into it? Well, like I say, I'm a teacher, and I have summers off, and that's having the summers off, 2.5 months with nothing to do is cool for like 8 days, and then it's like, what am I going to do to fill my time? And I really have to have something to do to fill my time. So a couple of years, 2 summers ago, I think June or 2010, maybe it was 11, I don't know what it was. It was about halfway through the summer. I started to get really antsy, and I didn't have anything to do. So I started poking around on the internet, like what kind of hobbies, what can I do to fill my time? And I don't even know how I found it, but I came across Les Bursley, Awesome Paint Jobs YouTube channel, and I saw a video of him putting a weathering wash on a War Machine driller. And I had no idea. I didn't know anything about miniatures or War Machine or Warhammer, anything like that. And I thought that was like the coolest model I'd ever seen, and it was like this big. Like, how does he paint that? That's so cool. And so I did some research on that. Awesome. And I thought, like, this is just the coolest thing ever. And since then it's been like every single day, nonstop, painting and into the hobby since then. So it's been about almost 2 years. This June it'll be 2 years. I guess it was 2011.
Wow.
So I've been about it for about a year and a half, a little more than a year and a half.
And and your artwork is phenomenal.
Oh, well, thank you. That's one of the benefits. My wife and I don't have kids or any responsibilities outside of work, so we can both come home and just focus on our hobbies and our fun stuff. So yeah, I mean, if there's days when I come home from work and I want to just go paint for 4 hours, and then my wife and I go out to dinner or something like that, we do that. So that's one of the benefits of not having the kids.
Yeah, understand
so
that.
Nothing wrong, nothing against kids. Kids are great. I'm a teacher, but coming home and not having a kid, all the free time to yourself. That's a big plus to me.
Yeah. All right. Ready for number 3?
Sure am. Yep.
Number 3. When and why did you start making YouTube videos, and have you met anyone from YouTube because of it?
When and why? My first video was actually April 3rd of 2012. And why? I don't know if I remember exactly why I started making videos. I think it was just one of those things that everybody else had a YouTube channel and everybody else was painting. And I thought it'd be, wow, everybody else got one, I should have one too. And I am a teacher, I'm an audio video teacher. So in my background and my degrees and that kind of thing are in film and video production. So it was a way for me to merge the two things I really love doing, the filmmaking and editing, that kind of stuff, and motion graphics and the painting. So it's kind of a natural blend of those two hobbies. So I don't know. I mean, I was a big fan of Les's videos, Awesome Paint Job. I think I tried to just I watched all of his videos over and over. And I was like, what is he doing right? Because obviously everything about those videos is awesome. And oh, there's my dog back there whining. And so I just watched those videos over and over. I tried to figure out, what he's doing here and how can I replicate that as best I can. And he's always just like 5 steps ahead of me. Every time he comes out with a video, it's like, yeah, he's upping the ante and making it better than I can. So he's keeping me motivated and trying to get better and better. But something about, I don't know, it's just the way he's got his camera or his lights or editing something, just like.
Well, his name is Awesome Paint Job. Come on.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I can. He's awesome paint job, but he's also awesome video maker and also awesome editor. And it's just, always ahead. But
yeah,
eventually, he'll stop making them, and then I can catch up.
Hope not, because I love his videos too.
Oh yeah, those are great. Yep. So.
Okay, did you meet any, the other part of that question is, did you meet anybody from YouTube because of it?
I've never met anybody in human life because of it, but I have made friends through YouTube and like Google Chats, and Les was one I've talked to Les on the phone, and he and I go talk on Google every once in a while and that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
And he's a real awesome. He's an awesome paint job. He's an awesome dude. So Les is one, and I think we talked about Van Hammer earlier.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll chat with him on Google, and Chung, we go email back and forth all the time. Chung from WG Consortium.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys who just we message back and forth through YouTube and that kind of stuff. But I've never met anybody in person. But it probably will change this year. I'm planning to go to at least Games Day this year. I also would love to go to Lock and Load, which is War Machine Privateer Press's version of Games Day, essentially. But it's the first weekend of June, which is the last week of school, and it's like the busiest week for teachers. We have all of our end of year stuff to do. So
yeah, all that paperwork.
Yeah, just paperwork, everything, closing down the school, shutting down all the computers, getting signatures for everybody. It's a real busy time, but I would love to go to it anyway. So I might just, stay at school till midnight a couple nights and then go to Seattle. So I'll definitely go into Games Day, and I'm sure I'll see a lot of the YouTube guys there. Though I think a lot of them are skipping Games Day this year in favor of Adepticon and Gen Con. I'm not going to either one of those, I think. So, but if anybody out there is going to Games Day, I'll see you there. And Lock and Load, I'd love to see that too, hopefully.
Cool. All right. After those little difficulties, I'm sorry, guys. Number 4, ready?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have any tips for anyone getting into your hobby, and this is including you making YouTube videos too?
Oh, okay.
So, for both.
Tips for getting into the hobby. Oh man. One question I get a lot is about paints, and people say like, well, I don't know if I should get the Vallejo line or the Reaper line or the Citadel line or whatever. So one thing I always say is like, don't feel like you have to just pick one line of paints and only stick with that. So like you might find some shades in P3 that you like, and some shades in Reaper that you like, and some shades in Vallejo Model Air, and it's cool to go back and forth. It is kind of intimidating a lot, like when you're first starting out and you realize this hobby not requires, but kind of requires a lot of materials and things like that. So when I first got into it, I was like, do I really need to buy the whole Vallejo game color set all at once? I'd say no, because I mean, as you see back here, I've got more paints than any human should ever have. But one thing I would say is pick an army if you're going to get into Warhammer and you want to play Ultramarines or something like that. You'll need blues and whites and browns and golds and stuff like that. So just start out by getting just what you need, because you don't want to spend everything on paints right away, because you're also going to need a million other things. Get into it as slowly, because it is a daunting thing to come in and say, this is like a cool hobby, playing little miniature war games, and you realize like this could I might have to take out a loan to get into this hobby. So take it slowly and that kind of thing. Same thing goes for painting. The first months that you paint something, unless you've got a lot of background in art, you're not going to want to show those to anybody, because you're going to be like, this doesn't look like this doesn't look like Awesome Paint Jobs. I'm following his steps exactly, and mine doesn't come out the same. So don't be discouraged by that. It's a learning process. Make sure you're having fun and enjoying the learning process. So that's going to take a long time before, I'm sure if you ask Les, I'm sure he would say, my first year I wasn't proud of anything I did. I don't know, maybe he's crazy gifted, so who knows. But most guys will say, yeah, my first 6 months or a year, my models didn't come out look right. So just enjoy your time practicing and don't get discouraged early. And for YouTube, for people just getting into YouTube, my biggest suggestion always is lighting. I don't know if I'll be able to show this. I have some right here. Oh, that's crazy bright. 300-watt fluorescent bulbs here. I know that was bright, but it's important. Lighting is more. People always ask, like, well, what kind of camera do you use, or what do you recommend? I always say that your lighting is more important than your camera, more important than anything. Bad lighting can make a good camera look terrible, and good lighting can make up for a bad camera. So like this light bulb that I showed and blinded you all with, I'm sorry, I think it was like $15 at Home Depot. So invest in a couple of high wattage light bulbs. You're going to need more light than you think you do. And as far as cameras, I've seen some guys out there who have used their iPhone cameras and have really good video quality. So I mean,
Dr. Cranky.
Who is that?
Dr. Cranky. He's from model cars. He's mostly model cars and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all of his stuff is done with the iPhone.
It's a good camera. I mean, that's you think like, well, I got to spend a ton of money to do the camera, but you probably already got one in your pocket. So just one way to save money in this hobby. I think I don't know if I'm saying this right. Rogland, Rogland. He does a lot of he does a few painting videos, but he does a lot of like showcase and stuff like that. And I asked him a few months ago. I don't know if it's changed, but he did all of his tutorials with an iPhone 4. I think he said maybe 4S. And you probably can hear my cat in the background too. But yeah, so I mean, you probably already have a decent enough camera around the house. So lighting is the best. If you're going to invest in something, lighting, and I just think a good quality microphone is also important. For your narration, that kind of stuff. But as far as getting into YouTube, first starting up on YouTube, I don't. That's another thing. Be patient with that too. You may not be ready to post your first or second or third or fourth video. You may want to take some time to learn, the editing and all that kind of stuff. And I go back and I look at my first and second and third and fourth videos. I'm like, man, I almost want to take those down because they suck. I didn't have the cameras in a good place. I had, the lighting was bad. I dragged on forever. Some of those videos were like 20 minutes to 25 minutes long. And
I still watch them.
So I can't go back. I mean, 25 minutes on a paint tutorial, unless it's just packed full of information, I feel like is kind of pushing the limits of the, attention span. So I try to keep my, videos at 10 to 12, maybe 15 minutes if I can. Just cut out all the stuff that you don't need. So that's, I guess that would be the big tip. The other big tip when you're editing, make sure that you're putting yourself in the audience's position and know your audience, there's a million painting videos out there, or a million, fluff videos or battle reports or whatever. So what are you going to offer that the audience won't say, well, I'll go over to, whoever and, I'm going to watch Chung's now instead. So I think, be snappy and respect the audience's time. And that's, I think, big, that's a really important thing. Just make sure that it's not dragging on and you're not,
All right. Ready for number 5?
I am.
This question is because of a somewhat controversial thing of tools. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's between the paintbrush and the airbrush.
Mm-hmm.
That's that question. What you'll get people going, oh, the purist and then non-purist.
Right.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm telling the question. Now, here's the question. Number 4. Number 5, sorry. Number 5. Do you like an airbrush or paintbrush, or do you use both, and why?
I primarily use the airbrush, but I don't think that, depending on the model, almost any model you paint is going to also require a little bit of brush work. Airbrushes are awesome, but you can't get, if you're painting a space ring, you're not going to get that rim around the shoulder pad with an airbrush unless you want to spend hours masking off all of your models when you could just paint it. But I really like the airbrush. I don't know what it is about it that it just kind of the tool just kind of clicked with me. And I noticed when I go back and watch it, like some of Les's videos, he's been doing this for like 3 years, something like that, and you see some of his videos in the comments, maybe 2 years old. Some people will say, "Man, airbrush is cheating," or whatever, But I think that in the last like maybe 6 months to a year, like the community is really kind of starting to change their tune on that. That I feel like the airbrush is not only becoming accepted and not looked down upon, but also starting to become seen as like not a necessary tool, but one that
you build yourself up to get.
Yes, yeah. That it's not something that I don't think it's as shunned as it used to be, and I think that that's good because one time I saw somebody say or ask, is using an airbrush cheating on a forum, and the best response on there, somebody said, unless you're entering a painting contest where it says you can't use an airbrush, then no, it's not cheating, and that's true. I mean, if you go to the game store and somebody's like, "Oh, you used an airbrush," like, whatever, man. You used a paintbrush. We used to finger paint. Now we use paintbrushes. Technology is evolving. Not that an airbrush is new technology, but I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of or looked down upon or shunned about the airbrush. I think it's still important to know how to use the traditional brush. And I admit I do sometimes get sloppy on my brush technique if I spend a lot of time airbrushing and then I go back and try to do some blending or some layering or glazing with the paintbrush. I'm like, man, this is taking forever. I don't know how to use this thing anymore. It's like writing cursive. I always write in print, and every once in a while I'll have to go back and sign my name. Like, I don't remember all of my letters. We still probably need to remember how to write in cursive, I guess, for when the occasion arises. That because like I said, you can't get in there and airbrush every single detail. So, but at the same time, I think there's kind of like a curve where you can only get such great results with an airbrush that I think that the highest level painters are probably always going to use a paintbrush. If you go on miniaturementor.com and see those guys and like the highest level guys that are painting like crazy high competition standards, for the most part don't use airbrush. Like on Miniature Mentor, sometimes they'll say, I started by base coating this with an airbrush, and then they'll go into it with a paintbrush. And I think there's just some things you can't do with an airbrush as far as like fine detail and like really subtle color nuances and shadows and stuff like that. So I don't think it's cheating when I think you can achieve the best results using a combination, but you still will need a bristle brush at some point, I think.
All right. This was going to be a good one for you.
Okay.
What was your favorite mini or model to paint and why?
My favorite model I've ever painted.
Number 6.
Probably was a Trollbloods Mountain King. I have a video on that, and that's because when I do play, I don't play very often, but when I do play, I play Trolls in Horde, the Hordes game. And,
I seen that. You even painted the little guys, and I don't know how you got that insane detail on them.
Oh, and the little whelps that he comes with.
Yeah, I mean that's like you got insane detail, man. I seen that model. They're tiny guys. They're like they're almost like 15 mil.
The whelps are knee high on a space marine. They're really tiny. So yeah, that was the challenging part. But I love the big wide open spaces on that troll. And since I play trolls, they're just of all the War Machine Hordes factions, I think the trolls, the style of their sculpts is what is my favorite. So to have a giant one that's like the ultra troll was really cool. So that I also like. I prefer. I don't have anything against doing armor or vehicles or anything like that, but I prefer like the wide open spaces of flesh tones that are alien or monster in some way. So like having big trolls that you can paint blue with some purple shadows and stuff like that. That's more fun to me than And I don't really like painting people at all. So like every once in a while, I have to come across. Like right now, I'm working on or just finished up a Khador models for a friend, and there was most of them were warjacks, but there was a few troopers in there of people. And it's like I don't like painting people. I don't know what it is about just human flesh tones. It's just like this is so boring to me. So I don't know.
It's the artist in you.
What's up?
It's the artist in you. That's your style. That's what you like. Every artist has that niche.
I guess that's what it sounds like. A lot of people, when I talk to, they like the realism and that kind of stuff. But I feel like, if I want to see a dude, I just look out the window. There's dudes outside all the time. But like, a troll, or there's a loud cat, or whatever, like a warjack or something like that. Like that's not something that's neat or that you see every day. So that's what it draws it to me. I think is the not necessarily just the fantasy element, but the otherworldly.
I want to make something that is not here.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Some of those guys you see on like Cool Mini or Not who do the historical figures and like the busts of historical figures. And those guys are awesome painters, but I could never sit down and do that. I'd be bored to tears. I don't know, but
I've seen some guys that do that work and they take toothbrushes to do steppo, to do the hairs.
Oh yeah.
I was like, they take a brush of a toothbrush, like a bristle of a toothbrush, and stick there, just one little bristle, and tap it. I'm like, wow.
That's dedication.
Yeah, I mean, there's hobbies out there that are extremists and they're not extremists. So.
Yeah.
Ready for number 7?
I sure am. Yeah.
Now this is another one that is a mixed match question. And if you have any questions about it, ask me about the question.
Okay.
What's your opinion of a model maker to a war gamer?
Like the difference between somebody who focuses primarily on the hobby side versus the gaming side?
Yes.
Well, the cool thing about this, whole wargaming hobby to me is that like no matter what kind of stuff interests you, there's an aspect of this hobby for you. It's like, especially the Warhammer, there's like books upon books upon books of lore and fluff, and if that's your thing, there's lots of stuff to read. Or if you like the gaming and the social aspect, you can game. Or if you like the competitive tournament game, you could do that. Or if you like sculpting, like Van Hammer, who's a crazy good sculptor, you do that. Or the conversions or the painting. So I think that all of those things, are whatever it is that you enjoy. There's not one thing that I think is like this is the true part of the hobby. I think whatever is your favorite part. As far I like the gaming. I don't like competitive gaming. I don't like, even at my local game store when they put on once a month like little tournaments. I don't usually go to those because people get a bit more competitive. Not like jerk competitive, but just I like going to the game store and playing and like not worrying about the time or like getting the exact measurements or like crazy things about rules. I guess I'm just there to have fun and hang out and for the social aspect really. But some people really love the competitive stuff, and those tournaments, the big competitive tournaments are really popular. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people who play those, and a lot of times people who are only into those and they'll go off to painters and commission painters because they have to have painted models. Otherwise, they would say, "Oh, that's okay." They would say, I'm never, I can't be bothered to paint my models, or I don't want to paint my models, but I have to for tournaments. So that's a lot of cash flow for commission painters, I'm sure, off of that. So
no, I love doing that because I love that's where I used to do when I used to go to my the game places I used to play in when I lived up north.
Mm-hmm.
They would like all minis had to be painted, and my friends would they all look and go. I have like all these heads that they come when we're all playing, and they're playing with minis that are not painted. And they'll look at me and go, "His whole army's done." It's like, oh, I just got sick. So,
yeah, it's just, I guess it's just different. Like at my game store when I do go play, I like to play the painted stuff, and I'll play whatever models I think look coolest. And like that's no different from like the guy next to me who, will play bare metal models. But only like the high, competitive lists. It's just, whatever your focus on the hobby is, however you want to enjoy this hobby. One's not
just
the
have
other.
fun.
Yeah, just however you want to have fun. Yeah.
All right, ready for number 8? It's the last one.
I sure am.
Number 8. Who do you think I should ask these questions to next, and why? If I already got asked these questions to that person, I'll say I already did it. So
okay. There are a couple guys that I think of when I first read this question. One of them, his name is Wargamer Dragonar. I think I'm saying that right. Wargamer Dragon and then AR at the end. He's a real cool dude. He does mainly battle reports, but he's also done some. Hey dog, I think I have a dog that wants to be on my lap. He's also done some really, really good painting tutorials. He did a tutorial of painting a war machine, Kador Warjack. It was awesome. But he's mainly does battle reports, and he's a real nice guy, real friendly. He's real funny too. Every once in a while, throw these great jokes in there. So he'd be one I'd definitely suggest. Also, Fear GFX. He's a real cool guy, real cool guy. His channel is very good, and he's part of the. But he is part of the Wargamer Consortium thing.
Okay.
So he's got probably his if you're looking for guys that are hopefully that want to build an audience for their channel, I'd look outside them because the Wargamer Consortium guys kind of help promote each other. Wargamer Dragonar, I don't know if he's new or not, but I think he's probably got about 500 subscribers. And
I don't care how many subscribers, as long as it's whoever you want me to interview that you like because of their videos. I don't care how many. They can have 2 subscribers and they have some kick butt videos. I don't care about subscribers because it's for the fun of the hobby and the community itself. Yeah. That's why.
I would go with him. I would say he and who else do I follow? General Splatten. I like General Splatten a lot because he's just good. You got him?
Done.
Oh, he's already done? Oh,
done.
Perfect.
Filmed.
Oh, filmed. Okay, good.
Filmed, done. He's in the can. He's going to be uploaded to.
Excellent. I like him. There's something about he's just got so much enthusiasm about the hobby, and you can tell when he does his unboxings where he just loves this hobby. And
you should see the recent one. He's ticked about that model.
Oh,
you can hear it in his voice. You can hear it in his voice. He's like, I love the sculpt and all that, but this ear fell off, and this. You can tell he's like. He's having model rage, like no. You can see him turn into a Green Hulk, like red eyes, going on yards. All right, so that's the 8 questions.
Okay, excellent.
Now it's what I call shameless plug time for you.
Shameless plug time. Okay.
You can plug your friends. You can plug Facebook, Twitter, web pages, whatever. It's your time to shine. It's shameless plug time. So when you're done, just say, I'm done, and then I'll do my spiel and talk. So we'll see in the show.
Excellent. I do have a Facebook page. I'm not a big Facebook guy. More exciting to me is I have SchnauzerFaceMinis.com, and the website, I'm building the website right now slowly. I'm not a huge, I don't have a ton of time to build a website, but there is going to be some cool stuff coming up soon, possibly by the time this is posted already. But there is a forum there, we have 200 registered members. Very cool community there. It's a painting forum. We don't have any discussions for gaming really. Cool. I guess there are some threads, but it's primarily painting. So it's a fun thing over there. And the other thing is SchnauzerFaceMinis now. All of the tutorials I do, unless the model is for a friend or my own army, the model is going to go on eBay to support various nonprofits or charities through the eBay Giving It Works program. Cool. So that's like the big thing now that I'm trying to push for is hopefully to encourage other people to support their favorite charities and causes, that kind of stuff.
I might be doing the same type of thing, but mine's with I might be making churches for
cool,
little churches, and I'll be donating money to different church community groups around Orlando, Florida, to help help families in need. Because I make like for train sets and stuff. So once I start getting I'm moving again, so I'm getting a location. I'm gonna be building these technically dioramas of different churches from around the world.
Oh, cool!
That are game playable.
Oh, cool!
So like technically, say you play Malifaux or you play that you should play War Machine. It's a piece of terrain that's their height and that it'll really work.
That's cool.
So
very, very
and
cool.
I'm also so any money I get from the eBay sale is going to go to the charities around
That's
here.
awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, I think that this community is really good about giving back and that kind of stuff. But we have Food Machine is a big thing for War Machine. Breast Cancer Brawl is another big thing. Last year was really successful. Was the Clash for a Cure, and those are all like War Machine.
Yeah, War Machine, Private Press is really good with their charities.
Yeah, it's very, very, very.
Now, if Games I'm sorry, I'm saying the magical GW here, but if Games Workshop ever had the same concept of saying, "Hey, let's do this," they wouldn't have as much as bad PR as they get.
Yeah, Yeah.
You never hear bad stuff about Privateer Press. You always hear about bad stuff about GW.
Yeah. And that's funny because, people always say GW gouges on the price. When you look at, like, the cost of Privateer Press models, sometimes are, just as expensive, if not more expensive than the equivalent in the GW line. But people don't hate Privateer Press because they're not a bunch of jerks, to be honest, So, like, Mulg is, this little dude is $60 for Mulg. Crazy expensive when you can go get, cheaper vehicles with more options and bigger things, that are bigger models from GW. But GW is just they make themselves such an easy target by being so, it's like they hate everybody who plays their game, and they're just trying to stick it to us every time we walk into a GW store. They're like, sucker. So
yeah.
I don't know what their problem is, but
right.
But it doesn't seem to hurt too much because people are, well, that's not necessarily true because there's no game store around me that carries 40K products anymore. The big one I used to go to, whoa, oh, sorry, a little dog problem here.
I guess he didn't like GW.
Slinky D hate GW, I know.
He's adorable. I think the cuteness meter on my show just went up.
But the big game store that I used to go to out in Grapevine, which is in between Dallas and Fort Worth, they don't carry any GW stuff at all anymore. And then there's a kind of like a small chain, like a local chain called Lone Star Games. There's like 3 of them in the area, and they just stopped carrying GW stuff too. And also last summer, there's a place in Dallas I drove way up to get some stuff on their GW sale because they don't carry it either. So, I mean, if you want to buy 40K models in this area, I don't know where you're going to go. And I'm wondering if that's probably the same thing everywhere. So I think and every time I go to the game store and say, like, why are you guys not carrying 40K anymore? They always say the exact same thing, which is Citadel or Games Workshop is a huge hassle to work with. And, I think they're just like angering local game stores so much that they might just be killing their company like that. I mean, it's a bummer, but oh well, that's their own choice.
There's always going to be a game out there, so they're
exactly.
they're right now. There's a big fish. That's what they are.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Well, everybody that in the world, that was my wife. Tell me about my daughter that has to go to bed. All right. All the information you put in your chat, in your things, and that you said before, is going to be in the credits and in the description down below. Thank you for being on my show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's very good.
And like I say to everybody, keep your blade sharp and make sure the hobby's fun. Bye, everybody.